Good afternoon and hello, everyone. Welcome. Before we begin, we'll ask that everyone place themselves on mute so that there isn't any feedback in the meeting room. When you're called upon to speak, I'll invite you to unmute at that time. So hello and welcome. I am Crystal Camejo, a proud Women of Need committee member and a strategic business partner at Ritel Incorporated. I am honored to be your host for today's dynamic conversation. We are thrilled to kick off the year with this exciting open call, and we have an impactful discussion ahead on two key topics: personal branding and accountability partnerships, designed to elevate your personal and professional growth for 2025 and beyond. Before we dive into today's conversation, for those attending this year's NATE Unite, please take note of the following. You are invited to stop by the Women of Need booth on from Sunday, February 16th through Wednesday, 19th. We'll be located near the information booth, that area where we will be located. We'll have committee members at that spot at any time. So please feel free to stop by. It's a great opportunity to connect, share stories, and let us know what future initiatives or educational sessions you'd like to see from Women of Need. Also, don't forget to stay connected with us. Join us for the 5K on Tuesday, February 18th, whether you run, walk, or something in between. We got prizes for those top finishers and medals for every registered participant. If you didn't register during NATE Unite registration process, no worries. You still have the opportunity to register on site. On Wednesday, February 19th at 2:30 p.m., join us for the Women of NATE group photo. This would be followed by our meet and greet at 3 p.m. with food, beverages, and great conversations. This is an amazing opportunity to network, share ideas, and forge meaningful connections. And finally, registration for the 5th annual Women of NATE Leadership Summit will go live at NATE Unite. We hope to see you in Baltimore on September 18th, 2025, for a packed one-day event full of inspiration and educational sessions, and also the opportunity to network. If you have any questions about NATE Unite or the summit, feel free to email Andy. She's open and ready and willing to assist with any questions, comments, or concerns. We can't wait to see everyone in Raleigh. Now, as we prepare to dive into today's conversation, we invite you to place your questions, your burning questions, your suggestions, or just comments that you may have based on the topics discussed in the allocated comment section. For those of you, you can look at the bottom of your screen and you would see the chat box. You just click on there and place your comments there. After each speaker presents, we'll give you a few minutes to submit your question, and we will filter and direct them for responses from each speaker. We encourage you to engage, and we look forward to hearing from you. So before we start this very impactful and intense conversation, as we navigate 2025, some of us, we look at things like New Year resolutions. But one thing that stood out to me while in preparation for this discussion was one of our speakers suggested a power intention word. And what that is primarily is a word that's going to make you focus on that goal, that big goal that you have for 2025. So I invite you for us to inspire each other. So before we dive into the content today, I invite you to go into the chat box and submit that power intention word, that one word that's going to help you drive your focus towards that goal that you want to achieve this year. Don't we all go at once? Growth. Nice. Growth, commitment, action, intentional, finding balance, authentic, powerful. Nice. Balance and peace. Love it. Communication. All right. Thank you so much. I think I need to reimagine my power intention word because I got so much examples here that I things that I really need to do. So thank you so much for sharing. So our first topic of discussion today is personal branding, an essential aspect of growing your professional presence. Now, Brandy Putt, with her experience in business development and marketing, will guide us on how to strategically shape. Brandy began her December 2022 with Murphy Tower Service and efforts. She's actively involved in the Women's Wireless Leadership Forum, Women of NATE, and serves on the NATE Member Services Committee and MNSWA Events Committee. Brandy, I now turn the time over to you to take us through this very important conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Can everyone hear me and go ahead and see my screen all right?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. It looks like Kimberly went ahead and put a poll up on the screen as well. Can everyone see that? It should, what is the first thing you notice about someone's personal brand? If we all just want to take a quick moment to answer that question, and then we'll go ahead and get started whenever we'll give you just a few seconds to answer that, and we will revisit that here in the presentation in just a few minutes. I know Dr. Kameho, I think, cut out a little bit there, but my name's Brandy Putz. I handle business development and marketing for Murphy Tower Service. I'm located here in Des Moines, Iowa, and I've been in the industry a little over 2 years now. So again, we're going to talk a little bit about personal branding before we hand the mic over to Lori White, who's going to talk about accountability partners. So we can go ahead and jump in. To get started, I really want to talk about what personal branding is and, more importantly, what it isn't. So your personal brand is the way other people perceive you. It has nothing to do with how you think that you're perceived or how you think you come across or what your reputation looks like. The quote here, "Perception is reality," is so key when it comes to talking about personal branding because it's really very true. It doesn't matter what you think, perception is reality. So think about things like your appearance, verbal communication, your nonverbal communication, like eye contact and body language and online presence. And it's truly all the way down to the people that you hang out with. That's part of your personal image as well. So you may be familiar with the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So take a moment to think about that. Are the people that you're hanging out with really reflecting the you that you want to project into this world? So we're going to talk a lot more about those things here in a few upcoming slides. But another thing I wanted to note before we move on, every single person on this call already has a personal brand. So the purpose of today's call is just to ensure that your personal brand is being perceived the way that you want it to be perceived. Just to give you a few tips and a few things to ponder on when it comes to talking about, oh, can't forget the slide, our personal branding. So this is a really fun one. Before we move on, I just wanted to showcase a few folks who need no introduction here. All of these folks encapsulate personal branding because they all have very, very carefully crafted brands. So when we think about someone like Taylor Swift, if we were to wake up tomorrow and she had a pixie cut dyed red hair and she started getting into a bunch of trouble, that would go completely against her personal brand. You know, she wants to be seen as the all-American girl and America's sweetheart and be as relatable as possible with her audience. So we've come to expect that from her. And the same goes for LeBron James. He wants to be seen as a philanthropist and someone who is a leader on and off the court. So we hold him to a pretty high standard because of that personal brand that he's created for himself. Steve Jobs is a really fun case study when it comes to personal branding because he himself obviously created one of the most, brand aware companies, which is Apple. But his own personal branding is very interesting. He was never known, if you've watched any of his documentaries about him, as the nicest guy or the best family guy. So I would always be curious to know if he realized that was his personal brand and he just didn't care because that's just who he was, or if he didn't take the time to look back and realize kind of how he was coming across. But and then I included Dwayne the Rock Johnson because I mean everyone knows him and he's just fantastic. So when we are intentional about owning our brand, we are going to see a lot of benefits. So, number one, people are going to know what you're good at, and they're going to think of you when certain topics arise. So, for example, here in Des Moines, we have a gentleman named Jacob Rev. He has branded himself as like LinkedIn Jacob. He goes out and gets coffee and lunch with a bunch of people, highlights them on his page on LinkedIn, and basically just connects them to other people. And that's his way of providing value to people. And that has now translated. He's leading webinars now and conferences about how to get the most out of LinkedIn, which directly ties into the second importance, which is better opportunities are going to come your way. So I'm not saying more opportunities and more promotions and job offers, but it's going to be the right ones because people know what you stand for and people know what you care about. So yeah, they might know you do marketing, but if you really focus your LinkedIn on like, I'm very interested in content and SEO, they're going to think of you when that content and SEO position comes up, which is clearly what you want to be known for. So next, if your personal brand is consistent, it's going to build trust and credibility. People like consistency. It shows that you're reliable, so they know what they can expect out of you. So doing this and working on some of these exercises is going to help with that trust and credibility. Four, you're going to stand out. So we have Nate Unite coming up, obviously. Get registered if you haven't yet. That's my one plug for the call today. But when you walk into a crowded conference, you want to stand out. You want to have something that you're known for, as long as it's a good thing and not known as like person who drinks too much at events or things like that, of course. But if you're posting and sharing a bunch about leadership, they're going to have something to talk to you about when they come up because they see that that's what you are standing for. So you're going to stand out in that element. You control the narrative. This is my personal favorite. As humans, the number one cause of anxiety is feeling like we don't have control of situations. So there's something so empowering about owning your brand and knowing that how you're perceived is how you want to be perceived, which is great for all the control freaks like myself out there. And then lastly, when you're clear about your skills, your values, and your goals, which we're going to talk about more here in the next slide, it's easier to speak up. It's easier to take risks and go after what you want because, again, you know what you want, and that's just that boosted confidence. So I do, before we move to the next slide, want to touch on the quote I have. You're going to find in this slide, I love quotes. I have this one in my office. To escape criticism, do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. And the reason I find this one impactful for today is no matter how much LeBron James or Taylor Swift is going to put into paying a PR company to craft their brand, they're still going to experience criticism and haters. And our personal brands are no different. While we say personal branding is about how we're perceived by others, that doesn't mean you have to care what everyone thinks of you. That's a very, very important thing to remember. So you're never going to make everyone happy. If you're doing things and saying things that you believe in, you're going to face criticism. That means that you're doing something right. So when we joined this call, we had a quick interactive poll. Kimberly, do you just want to let me know what the quick results were about what people first notice when they meet someone about their personal brand?
Sure. I actually only wrote down the top one was with 48% was the tone and energy.
I love it. Okay, that's awesome. So we're all going to notice different things. So 50% of us notice someone's tone and energy. It's so funny. I was at an event recently and was talking with some coworkers and we walked away and they're like, oh my gosh, could you believe that guy's breath? And I'm like, I didn't notice it actually. So we're all going to notice something different when we're first meeting someone. But really, research shows that the first thing that you're going to notice about someone is their authenticity. So it's most likely going to be subconscious, but you're going to be asking yourself, can I trust this person? Is this person genuine? And honestly, believe it or not, that's kind of our way that our body and our brains are wired to kind of safeguard us from harm and deception. So we're basically all right. Anyone that answered that question, because deep down you're asking yourself, is this person genuine? So when you think about branding from a company perspective, the number one thing that we have to keep in mind is consistency. So if I post for Murphy Tower Service and I'm using our color green, which is our color, and then tomorrow I start using yellows and tie-dyes, that's not going to be consistent. People are going to be confused. And the same goes for our personal branding, because it is going to be impossible to remain consistent with your personal brand if it isn't authentic to you. So make sure when you go through this and you're trying to craft this through this exercise that it has to remain authentic or it won't be consistent. And as we talked about in the last slide, people want consistency. So to dive in, we're going to talk about how we can actually change and shift this personal brand. To begin, we need to take stock of where the personal brand is right now, which is called a personal brand audit. So we can't decide where we're going until we know where we're at. So with this exercise, we're basically just trying to identify the gaps between how we see ourselves and how others see ourselves. So number one, we're going to evaluate our strengths and weaknesses. And this is something I encourage you, get a piece of paper out, open your Word document, truly write down what your strengths are, truly write down what your weaknesses are. And next, we're going to seek feedback from friends and family. For this one, I recommend, and I did this, I told myself I would never ask you guys to do anything I wouldn't do myself. I text 3 friends and just asked them to provide 3 words that they would use to best describe me. And I got some fun results and I learned a lot about myself. 2 of the 3 people said the word decisive when it came to me. And I've always known that about myself, but it was really fun to see that others also recognize that. I would have no idea that they thought that. So I highly recommend doing it. It's not always the easiest. It feels a little uncomfortable sending that text and asking them to provide that, but I promise you won't regret it. And then a fun part about this, I want to make a side note. I think that's a really fun thing that you can add to reviews. So if you're a leader on this call and you're having 6-month annual reviews, ask your folks to, and you talk about your leadership style in 3 words. You're going to learn a lot about how they think of you through that. So again, it may be a little uncomfortable, but it's going to push us, and growth is always going to be good for us. Lastly, we're going to define our values, whether that be integrity or resilience, empathy, accountability. I challenge all of us to include the word authenticity for all the reasons we discussed on the last slide, but your actions and decisions should always lead back to your core values. So if you select integrity as one of your core values and the first crazy thing that happens in your office, you're down in your work bestie's office gossiping about it, your actions aren't aligning with that core value. So make sure you write those down as well. Know what those are. So next, we're going to actually set our mission for our brand. So this is something that you're going to actually print out and read every single day once you create this mission statement. It's something that you're going to have to set aside some time to do. It's going to require some thought. And on the next slide, I'm going to give you an easy kind of plug and play thing where you can actually create this mission statement. But we have to ensure that this mission statement is consistent online and offline. I'm sure we've all kind of talked to someone maybe in person and they're kind of shy and hard to talk to. And then you see them online and they're so boisterous and opinionated. Well, there's kind of some conflicts there. Like you want it to remain consistent online and offline. And lastly, just from a marketing standpoint, make sure you're communicating your story. We all have a story to tell. We all have great things about us. So whether that's through a personal website or personal blog or LinkedIn, make sure you're sharing your achievements and the things that tie back to your mission. This is kind of the workshop slide I was referring to. Feel free to take any pictures of this and we can share slides after. But what you're trying to do here is say, I am blank, insert what you want to be known for because my audience needs blank. And this is why you want to be known for it. So I kind of tailored this example here today for this audience, but I am feminine and kind because women in telecom need to know they're not alone in order to leave a legacy of powerful women in telecom. In the second version, I just reworded it to make it a little less wordy and something that I could read that remains authentic to me that I can actually strive to achieve every single day. So the one thing I would like to note on this slide is that your personal brand can and should evolve. So what your mission statement was 5 years ago versus what it will be in 5 years, it's going to be different. companies have to evolve. Obviously, we've realized that in the telecom industry, especially if you've been in it for a long time. I mean, we have to evolve to keep up. So if you change companies, if you're in a new leadership position, this mission statement's going to look a lot different. So something that should be revisited from time to time. This slide's very simple and straightforward. These are things you can do today to immediately impact your personal brand. So dressing for the occasion, maybe if you have that nice work event coming up, don't wear the jeans, maybe dress up a bit more. Practice good hygiene. No one wants to be known as the guy with bad breath when you go to events, so that's a very simple one. Master nonverbal communication. I would say this is the #1 thing. I know as women, a lot of us experience imposter syndrome. These 3 things are like the #1 way I work to combat that. So your body language alone is going to show that you're more confident, but also it's going to make you feel more confident. So it's twofold. So sit up straight, avoid touching your neck. That's kind of a telltale sign of some insecurities and things like that. So eye contact is the next one. I have been working really hard about this. There's been times people will come into my office and I don't even know if I've looked up or made eye contact with them. So try to note their eye color. That's a very simple thing I've been implementing. It's been very helpful for me. I note their eye color, and that way I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm giving them my full attention, and it just comes across more confident. Facial expressions, this is my #1 weakness, I will fully admit. Let's try to keep our poker faces in 2025. So be an active listener. Don't just listen to respond. Listen because you truly care about someone. I can't tell you how many times you get done with a conversation and you feel like you've asked 5 or 6 questions about their dog and their mom, and then you walk away and you don't feel like they even know your name. So make sure you're not being that person. Ask questions, listen intently. Speak clearly and confidently. That's one that I think we all fall victim to a lot. For an example, like if you know your company doesn't have a license in Arkansas, I found myself the other day typing, I think we don't have a license. It's like, I know that we don't. So just be confident in what you're saying, especially when you're very sure of yourself. Building empathy, it's such an easy one. You don't know what other people are going through. Put yourself in their shoes and just don't be judgmental and just try to understand what other people are going through. So lastly, select a professional headshot. Believe it or not, this is a huge part of your personal brand, so invest in it. People will see you as more polished, they'll see you as more credible if you have a professional one versus a selfie or just a cropped family photo on your social media. So positive habits. So you create a good future by creating a good present. This just means that the things you do today will be who you are tomorrow. So be reliable. This is such an easy one that we all have complete control over. If you say you're going to join that call at 11, join that call at 11. If you say you're going to have that report done by Friday, get it done by Friday. Be known for being reliable. And this includes being punctual and not late for meetings. I think a little bit in our society nowadays, it's seen as like a cute thing or cute quality to be late. And in my personal life, I'm always late, I have to admit, but from a work standpoint, I try not to be. We need to be courteous of other people's time. Cultivate gratitude by showing appreciation for others. This is a huge one. It's twofold. When's the last time you were nice to someone and felt worse about yourself? Never. So it also makes the person on the receiving end feel good. And research shows that when people feel good and appreciated, they're going to be more productive. Exhibit a positive attitude and approach challenges with optimism. We all know a negative Nancy out there. I challenge you to avoid spending too much time with these people because you can quickly fall into that trap if that's you. But the next time a challenge comes up, just see it as an opportunity to be a leader and showcase a solution for your company instead of just maybe complaining about it. Prioritizing your EI, your emotional intelligence, and recognize that your emotions and how they influence your behavior. So we've all sent a text, we've all sent a rash email that we immediately regret. So just take a break, go for a walk, and then come back and write it from a professional standpoint and not emotional standpoint. A lot of us, we write an email because we want to be defensive immediately, like, oh, they're coming at us for not doing something. Most of the time, that's never the case. They're not trying to do anything like that. So take a break. Don't let your emotions type for you. Type from an emotional or a professional standpoint. So last but not least, network strategically. A lot of us may go to events and it feels like we're superficial interactions just to check a box, but it's all about building genuine relationships. So participate in groups like Women of Nate, in activities that you're actually interested in, because that's the best way to find those genuine relationships, because you both care about the same thing. All right, here is my challenge to you. I know it's a lot, but I promise you, I did all of these things on this list, and I have felt so inspired in this last week, and I'm much more cognizant of other people's personal brand, including my own. So we talked about a lot of these. Create that list of strengths and weaknesses. Truly, type it out, write it out, see it every day. Text those friends, get those keywords about yourself. Create your mission statement, which again, we'll send out this slide deck so you can use that as a plug and play statement. Write down what you want to be known for. So what do you want your legacy to be? And if your actions aren't aligning with that, mine is, I want to be known as someone who's always helpful. If it's 5 o'clock on a Friday, like, that's okay. I'm here to help. That's what I want to be known for. So my actions need to relate to that. Based on those weaknesses, write down 3 things you're going to work on this week to live by your mission statement. If you're always late, maybe for the remainder of this week, you're going to try to show up to work 5 minutes early, whatever it is. But make those tangible goals that you can work on. Number 6, write down your number 1 professional goal and make it a SMART goal. So make it specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So I want to become a director by Q3. Print it out. Look at that every day, because you're going to know why you're working and doing what you're doing. I want to earn X amount by the end of the year. Put it down. Look at that goal every day. Send an email or a LinkedIn message to someone that you've been wanting to connect or network with. That doesn't mean just because you're looking for a new job or anything. You could just be reaching out to an old colleague just to rekindle things and catch up. But it is something that they're going to appreciate you reaching out to, especially when it's unexpected. Especially for someone like, I'm always looking for mentors, so it is nice to just reach out and make that ask. We talked about this already. Make eye contact with everyone you talk to today. Something so little can make such a large difference. Optional, read 7 Rules of Self-Reliance. It's a great book if you have any interest in entrepreneurship. I like when I join calls and they give me book recommendations. So if you get it and you read it, or if you try any of these things, please let me know. I would love to talk to you about these. And then last but not least, it's not optional, be you. Obviously, we talked about a lot on today's call, but you have so much to offer in this world, and it doesn't matter. You could throw all of this out the window. As long as you're being authentic and you're being you, you're doing it right. So that is everything I have for you today. I can go ahead and stop sharing my screen and see if I have any questions. I can't promise any answers, but I can listen.
Thank you so much, Brandy, for those valuable insights on personal branding. It's clear how crucial it is for us to be intentional about shaping our professional image. Now, I do see a question in the chat, but I do want to give the attendees an opportunity to pose their questions or suggestions. I have one question while we give them that time to do so. Brandy, while we allow, how do we balance personal branding with professional expectation in corporate settings?
Yeah, I would say number 1 is to pick a company that aligns most closely with your personal branding. So if you're casual and relaxed, but you're working in a really super uptight, rigid environment, you're going to probably struggle with that. So try to pick a company that aligns well for you. And then at the end of the day, if you're doing personal branding and promoting yourself, you're ultimately going to be giving your company more visibility as well. And if you're with the right company, they should appreciate that. And you should go out of your way to promote your current company as well. So they should appreciate those things as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. On point. So I have a question from Tanya. Tanya asked, well, she said, Brandy, I know a lot of people struggling with promoting themselves. Can you give us some suggestions on how to look into ourselves to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the number 1 way is to write down your strengths and your anything that makes you unique. Like, you have those things, and you may have to rely on your network to kind of bring those out, because they're going to encourage you and say, hey, you're so awesome at this, you're so awesome at that. So lean on them. And then once you have that, you know what your differentiating factor is, especially from a marketing standpoint. That's what you look for. Like, what makes me different? And then go out on LinkedIn, create a blog, create your own website, and just push people to that content. They're going to immediately associate you with that. So,
yes. All right. Thank you so much, Brandy. That's all the questions that I see for now. Thank you again for
thank you
leading
for having me.
this
I appreciate you.
Powerful and impactful conversation. It's necessary, it's needed, and the fact that we have it at the beginning of the year so that we can set our our intentions, because we did talk about being intentional about what we do. We have this formula that you now give us. Thank you so much for that and the time spent in preparing this powerful message. So our second topic is centered on accountability partnership, a powerful tool for achieving your goals and staying on track. Now we have Lori White, the VP of Strategic Sales and Development, a VP of Strategic Sales and Development, who will share how accountability partnership can help us maintain focus and progress in our careers. Lori serves as the Oklahoma Director of Business Development for Titans Title and Clothing LLC for nearly a decade, and is very passionate about client retention, and innovative sales strategies. Recently, she was named Vice President of Strategic Sales at Solaris Technologies and Nationwide Director of Operations for their mobile Wi-Fi tower solution. At this time, I turn the time over to Lori for her presentation. Lori, over to you.
Hi, everyone. It's me. Welcome to the party. Crystal, you are in charge of sharing the slide. You got this?
I got you.
And this is the first example of why we have accountability partnerships, everyone. Okay, so we're going to be talking today about understanding the accountability partnerships, defining it, so that way we kind of just get all on the same page. Accountability partnerships, I like to look at it personally like it's a Swiss Army knife. So it's a super tool. It helps everyone not only achieve their goals, but maintain motivation. It creates synergy between you and other people. And the one thing I want you guys to always remember about this is that it is a reciprocal relationship. It cannot be a one-way street. It is reciprocal. We give, we take, we help each other and support each other. Okay, slide 5 is where I'm headed. Accountability partnership basics. So we've all been at work, and let's go back to a funky headspace where we feel overwhelmed. We're focusing on every problem in front of us. We're negative about doing the daily task of our life. You feel unmotivated, you feel frustrated, you feel alone, you feel stuck. How many people have been there? Just wave your little hands on your video. I should be seeing everyone wave, because if you're not waving, you're lying to yourself. So here's the solution. When you have accountability partnerships, you're creating a group of people who have similar objectives as you do. They offer each other support. You motivate each other. You hold on to each other. You hold each other accountable for benchmark achievements. You celebrate with each other, and you problem solve together. This should be a safe place that ensures your mental health, as well as making sure that you're staying on track and you're emotionally checking in with these group of people. So obviously, you have to trust them. When we do that, I see people, how do we start that? We're going to get there. So just stick with me for a second. The components that you have to have in these groups, though, everyone has to be committed at the same level. So there's 5 things I want to point out. And you guys will get this slide, so don't worry if you're not seeing it just yet. This will be slide 6, I believe. But the components to succeed, you have to have regular check-ins. That means email each other, phone call each other, Zoom with each other, invite each other to classes just like that you see, oh, this could be valuable information. You invite each other because you're all going the same direction. I like to use the term, get in my boat. So you're pulling them into the boat with you and vice versa. This is a place where you give constructive feedback. We're not here to tear each other down. You're here to build each other up. So giving constructive criticism is so important and critical. If you don't know how to do that, there are books out there. One of my favorite ones for that is critical conversations, telling people the truth is okay, guys. It's okay. We don't have to sugarcoat it. Just be honest with your team. Be solution driven. Totally my favorite. Okay. Solution driven. I like to refer to that as being a business vegetarian. No beef. No beef. No beef. No drama. You are vegetarian when it comes to business. When people bring you problems, you go find solutions. If you don't know the solutions, you reach out to someone who might have a solution. Do not continue to add beef because you're vegetarian. That's what we're doing. The fourth one is focus on objectives of each person. It's not necessarily about you. In accountability partnerships, you come from a servant mindset.
We're vegetarian.
You come from a service mindset. So whenever you're focusing on the objectives of each other. So how can I help you? There's an old quote, an old saying that says, if you help everyone get what they want, you'll never want for anything. Digest that and live by that. Again, I'm going to repeat this 10 times probably in this presentation. Reciprocity is a must. Do not be a taker. Do not be a vampire of people's energy, sucking the life out of all that they're doing and giving nothing back. Please keep in mind that in your accountability partnerships, they're not typically a large group. It's usually a small, quaint, trustworthy, I call it your vault group or your SWAT team. We'll explain that later. But it's a sacred group. It's confidential. It's always got to focus on encouraging each other, embracing change, and being authentic with each other in all that you do. This is your safe place, like your top 5, like Brandy was talking about earlier. It can be your 5 people that you can go to and you can trust. I encourage you guys to seek out people who are where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because they've already been there and they're going to save you from pitfalls. They're going to save you from danger. They're going to give you wisdom and knowledge, and they're going to save you a lot of time because they have already been there and done that. It would behoove you to pay attention to the advice that they give you. Okay, key point 1, performance metrics. This is so important in your accountability partnerships. You are not alone in this. Crystal, can you scroll down to this slide if you get a chance? Accountability partnerships, they help us monitor and improve performance metrics such as customer service response times, network reliability, and service quality by sharing our experiences, both good and bad. That's why I'm telling you guys, especially in our industry, it's so important to have these critical conversations with each other, especially with people who have been there. They can help you understand, okay, here's what you can do to adjust your sales and look at it different. Review your target hits and misses. Be vulnerable and say, man, I am so frustrated. I have been working on this company for the last 2 months trying to get them a tower, and doggone it, they bailed on me. It's okay to say that. It happens, right? But you've got to be able to discuss that, because what are you going to do to overcome the problem? That's what this group is for. Transparency and trust are key components in this entire process. If you can't trust your accountability partnerships, you're probably in the wrong room. Yeah, we let that sit for just a minute. It's like going into a restaurant. There's plenty of tables. You might have sat at the wrong table if there's not trust and transparency. Accountability is the glue that ties commitment to the results. Let's say it again for the folks in the back. Accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. Do we all understand what that means? Let's go to church. Everyone raise your hand. But seriously, being accountable is holding your feet to the fire. So hitting your goals and targets, that's what we're here for. So that's why we share those with each other, because if you're not committing to your goals, you're not moving. You're just talking a lot, and it's wasting a lot of air. Key point 2, innovation and development. This is my favorite. In your accountability partnerships, there's a lot of innovation. By creating the synergy of like-minded professionals and culture, each individual not only holds each other accountable, but they begin to feed off each other's creativity. You start to share more thoughts. You start to share more ideas. You brainstorm. You get excited. You wake up and you're not the same person you were yesterday headed into work, because you know that you've got people around you in your network that support you, and you're ready to tell them about your newest idea, right? Development. Innovating is nothing without being put into action. That's where development is delivery. Don't just talk about it, be about it. So there's a lot of talkertons out there, but not a lot of doers. And talk is cheap. And ladies, we are expensive, result-driven women. You guys showed up on this call today in full force. We're so glad to have you, but that right there shows that you're putting the action into yourself. You're saying, I want to learn about accountability partnerships. I want to learn about branding. I want to support my friends in my network. So thank you for being here. And if you're not part of Women of Nate, you need to be, but I'll tell you all about that later. The next slide and our final key point is going to be collaborative communication. Obviously, I like to talk, so let's go. Collaboration is key. Working together. It says on the slide, we collaborate. Research suggests that women often demonstrate a strong inclination towards collaborative communication, characterized by, Brandy talked about this, active listening, seeking diverse perspectives, sharing credit. What do I mean with that? Sharing credit. Ladies, I'd be lying if I said I don't like accolades. Is there anyone else in the room that likes accolades? An atta girl, you did a great job. It's so good to see you. We need to make sure we give shout outs to our people. When someone gives you a seat at their table, you say thank you. And if you're going to talk about how you have a seat at a table that you weren't once at, and someone gave their seat or gave a seat to you at the table, you need to thank them. Dr. Crystal, thank you for giving me a seat at the table. Andy Lee, thank you for giving me a seat at the table. Evelyn, thank you for giving me a seat at the table. That's how we do it. Very simple. Brandy, thank you for being my partner in crime today. So please keep that in mind. If we can go to the collaboration is key slide. I just want to show you ladies some numbers. I don't know if you can see that yet. It's the collaboration is key slide. But here's some numbers. When women collaborate in groups together, 25% say that there's an increase in productivity by 25%. There's a 60% increase in innovation. 64% say they have increased focus. 73% increased performance. Those are some pretty amazing statistics when you think about it. That is what happens when you put a bunch of women into a room where they all want to build each other. That is success, and numbers don't lie. Okay, so on slide 15, I give you guys some strategies because a lot of people will ask, how do I get started? Where do I start? I'm so glad you asked. That's why we're here. I broke it down into two categories. So you'll see accountability on the left, partnership on the right, because accountability is one half of the relationship, partnership is the other. Oh. So for accountability, I want you guys to kind of scroll through here and see who all is in the meeting. And I think someone is going to send a list, but who at this meeting is someone you can connect with? Reach out to them, reach out via email, start building rapport, develop your relationships and learn about each other genuinely. That's how you start with the accountability part. The second half of that is saying, okay, what do I do with the partnership side? You ask them this, Dr. Crystal, what can I do to help you? It's that easy, ladies. You build a full understanding of what their needs are, and you come from a place of serving. It goes back to the quote I said earlier, help people get what they want, and you won't want for anything. The second tier underneath accountability is creating opportunities. You discover each other's passion to help, grow them together, feed the fire in each other. You help. Offline, what I mean is detaching from all the things. Actually pick up the phone and call. Listen to their voice. Listen to what's going on with them. Be vulnerable with each other. Please, 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 though, respect the vault conversation. If they are disclosing a hardship they're going through, if they're disclosing something private in their private life and they feel like they can trust you, do not go to anyone else in your group and share that information. It's so disrespectful. I don't feel like we have to say that, but I do say that. On the partnership side, branding, go check your friends' social media. Give them a thumbs up, comment on their stuff. Be supportive of their events, their business, their classes. Share their posts, encourage them, help them with what they're doing, and build with them. The biggest way that you build is say, how do I help you achieve your goals together? What can we do? We're all in this industry together. That means that we obviously have some place that we connect. How do I help you? The next slide is our SWAT team. That's just something for you guys to look through after this call. But it's when you find your accountability partnerships, I call it SWAT, not SWAT, like with an A, but with an O. But S stands for strengths. You want to discover each other's strengths, develop the strengths, and delegate the strengths. Not everybody in the room you need to share. We leverage it, right? The weaknesses, we admit them. We choose to change them. We support each other changing them, and we stop making excuses for them. But the only way you can bring that to the table is by having your accountability partnerships and saying, hey, I need help with this. I am sucking today at my sales calls. We help each other. The O stands for opportunities. I cannot preach this enough. I would not be anywhere near where I am if people did not give me seats at the table. And I encourage each of you to do that for others. If you see something in someone else, give them a seat at the table. It's not that difficult. It only makes the table stronger and more effective. Threats, identify them. It is what it is. You identify dangers, people who may be negative, goal suckers, people who just talk the noise, but they're not doing much. And you just kindly adjust yourself accordingly. So these are really simple things, guys, but accountability partnerships have the capacity to really build your business, build your network. And if there's 5 people in an accountability group, I'm just throwing out a number. You can have 20 if you can manage it. But if you have 5 and everyone has a network, look how much you've given yourself the opportunity to grow your business and theirs. So it's a team effort. And let me tell you, you want some MVPs on your team. So make sure that you find people who are like you, if people who are driven and who want to see success like you do. And if you're the one in the room who isn't being active, just keep coming to these education classes. We'll help you along the way. But I do want to take a moment to thank Women of NATE. For those of you on here who either aren't participating yet or haven't had a chance, I would definitely encourage you to come by and visit with any of the Women of NATE. It has been one of the greatest organizations. The level of women empowerment and support and love and giving seats at the table has been phenomenal. And if you're looking for a group to join and you want women who are educated, elevated, empowering, driven, you're in the right spot. Please consider joining us with Women of NATE. We'd love to have you. And I cherish each of you guys and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Lori. And please forgive me. Technology is not being very good to me right now. It's not allowing us to be great. So I'm not sure if they were seeing the slides.
That's okay. I'm happy to email the slides to everyone. I see April Jackson. I see you, girl. We will get that emailed. If you just make sure I get your email, I'll send it to you guys, or however we want to do it. I'm happy to share the love. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Lori, as always, for your insightful It's always about empowerment with you. So thank you so much for that presentation on accountability partnerships. Your points really drive home how crucial it is to have someone supporting your growth, or a group of people, a small group of people, as you mentioned, and holding us accountable
Yes.
for our goals. Now, I'd like to get a few questions from the audience, and I'll invite them at this time to post in the comment section. And while we wait on them, Laurie, I want to ask you a question. How do accountability partnerships differ from mentoring and coaching relationships?
That is a great question. So, accountability partnerships, let me back. Mentor partnerships are typically based with someone who is way more advanced. Coaching comes from the coach giving you directives. It's not necessarily a collaborative. You say, this is where I want to go, and he or she, the coach, gives you the directives, right? In a mentor, it is a mentee and a mentor. In accountability partnerships, it's very staggered. And because there's multiple people, there are some that come from a place of mentorship. There are some who are, I would say everyone comes from a place of mentorship, because I have not yet to be in an accountability partnership group where everyone is on the same page, because we all have our strengths and weaknesses. So it is a collaborative effort. It is a collaborative opportunity for insight and insightful conversations. Whereas the other two are more from a training or different leveled. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. And two, how can people find accountability partnerships in a virtual or hybrid work environment?
There's a lot of ways. This is a prime example. Women of Nate, we are definitely an in-person opportunity, but for the most part, we come from this hybrid world. We do things, and we've adjusted our sales in ways. We create Zooms. I know that there are some groups that locally meet. So it's getting involved in network communities around you. And it doesn't, sometimes we get so caught up with it has to be all my industry. It doesn't. Because actually stepping outside of that makes you almost more valuable, because you're not sitting with 10 people who maybe do the same things you do, right? And so I think getting involved in your local communities, in your local, different industry. There's here in Texas, there is the Girl Cave. There's a lot of women who are very powerful. They're authors of books, and we have the most amazing conversations. So you can find them, because we're in such a social media driven world, that literally you can look women empowerment group near me, and it'll probably pop up 10 things. So I would say get involved on those levels and start testing the water. And listen, I've gone to some that I walk in the room and I'm like, ooh, this is not for me. And that's okay too.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Laurie. I don't see any questions, so I believe that you were spot on and very self-explanatory. Thank you so much for the impact both you and Brandy made on this call today. You've covered two incredibly important topics. Now it's time for us to really put these insights into action. So I do challenge everyone on the call to identify at least one concrete step you can take to enhance your personal brand and find an accountability partner in the next week or so. Remember, 2025 is ours for the taking. Finally, I would like to encourage you to share what you've learned today with other women in your communities. Together, we can empower each other and pay it forward. So thank you so much for all that you do in the industry, for showing up for all of us. You inspire us. You have no clue how much you inspire someone else by the way you show up. Just being here to fine tune those skills and the ability to grow in these regards. We never know how much we would be impacting our very small communities, our companies, our personal and professional lives. To this end, I thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming events, from Nate Unite to the One Leadership Summit in Baltimore. Let's make 2025 a year of growth and impact. Thank you.